All right, if you were absent in class or you just want to view how to do some of the optical illusions that we did together, I'm going to go over the different styles here today again and just make sure that you have a chance to kind of view it if you want to view it. So one of the things that I will point out is that the easiest way to get started with an optical illusion is to take a straight edge, and you can start vertically or horizontally and just start making lines, make them about the equal distance apart. So I'm going to start vertically with mine, make a couple of those lines kind of in a routine pattern, and then start to get the lines so that they are closer together and just alter the distance or space. Then you can kind of start to change back to your original distance and maybe go back to some closer together. And what you'll start to see is that this is going to make an optical illusion just based on lines. Now, this is a pretty simple idea, pretty simple concept. Not going to be a really high grade if I paint something like this as far as like my overall optical illusion, but I can elevate it. I can make it something that's more difficult and challenging by doing a couple of different things. I could change the direction and make my lines into more of like a checkerboard pattern, come with the same concept. They can be a little bit close together, they can be farther apart. I can start to make things like in different areas. But the key thing here is that I'm gonna make it more challenging or difficult by creating more spaces that I'm going to be able to paint, and it's going to make my eyes change, vibrate, rotate, move back and forth a little bit differently as far as the overall space. I can also do one more thing to make it a little bit more difficult or challenging, and that is I can add an image or an object to it. So I could write my name, I could put like an actual design in it. So if I want to do like a sunflower, I can hide an image, a logo, or something in that design, and then that changes when certain things switch in parts of my artwork. So first idea, really simple, really easy way to start an optical illusion is just starting with basic lines. They can go one direction, you change the spacing, and then you can change the direction of the lines so you can go a different way. But you can also add a name, a logo, or an image into that individual artwork or idea. The second way that we can start an optical illusion, so I'm going to move this over to my other square, is I can start by adding a dot or a point, and I'm going to use linear perspective. So now I'm going to use that dot or point, and I'm going to take and I'm going to draw lines that go from that dot or point, and they're all going to line up with that dot as they go out around my design on my canvas. So it looks like everything is coming from that area or that space. And the goal here is that by using that point or that dot, as I use my straight edge, everything's gonna look like it's getting smaller or warping to that hole or dot in my artwork and in my design. Okay, so you can kind of see already, just with simple lines, everything's going in to that actual dot. This is a pretty simple idea. So if I'm going to do something like this for my painting, again, not a very high grade, it's going to be a really basic concept, but it works as the start of something. What I can do next is a couple different options. I could take that dot in the lines and I can do a shape that repeats. So I could do a triangle and repeat a triangle over and over again throughout that whole pattern. I can do lines that go different directions. I could easily even do like a fun organic shape. So any of those would be options. So let's just say I want to take lines. I can take one section of this, draw lines that go one way or one area, and then I'm going to reverse the way those lines go here. And what you're going to see is it'll kind of make this really cool pattern. As I rotate the lines, it'll wave kind of like in and out throughout those sections and throughout those designs. So again, I'm taking a simple concept, and in this case, I'm trying to elevate it to make it more difficult or challenging. One way I can do it is just by adding lines, and then it's going to start to continue to create this really cool optical illusion as they keep going, connecting together all the way around. Okay, so first one's with lines, second one's with just a simple point. The third concept would be one where you're going to use 2 vanishing points. So this one in particular is actually kind of fun. You're going to want to take your ruler. You can draw just a straight line across your canvas or design, and then on either side of that line, you're going to put 2 points. Okay, this one's going to alter and be a little bit different because instead of looking like it goes in, it's going to actually look like it comes out towards you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this design by taking my ruler, and I'm just going to draw a vertical line anywhere in between those 2 points. And I'm going to use that as our reference. Where this vertical line was drawn, that's where it's going to look like it comes out towards you when you actually view your painting. How this works is I'm going to take one side from that vertical line over, right or left, doesn't matter, and I'm going to start to draw lines that go from this point across, and every time, just like I did before with the 1 point, I'm making sure my straight edge is touching that point as it's going down and it's wrapping around my design. Okay, so I can't randomly just draw it anywhere. It's got to make some kind of contact with that one vanishing point. What you'll see is it'll start to make this like diagonal pattern, all going to the one vanishing point. And it'll kind of create the illusion that it's just coming from that area or that black hole. What you'd want to do next to make it look like it's coming out towards you is you want to use the opposite vanishing point, and where you drew your lines, now you're going to connect your ruler to that dot and go across to the vanishing point. And this starts to make that center line that you drew vertically look like it's coming out on a corner or popping out of your picture plane when you go through and do your painting. Okay, so this optical illusion has a little different type of perspective or angle that tricks your eyes. And the goal here is it's going to look like it's coming out instead of looking like it's coming in. And you'd use both vanishing points and the lines that you drew to make sure that they line up correctly and go both directions. So again, as we're talking through like simple versus difficult, this would be a pretty simple idea just because it's really basic lines, just kind of dividing up your canvas or your space. I can elevate this by making it into like a cool checkerboard pattern and dividing it up. I can add other images in it. I could put words, but I don't want to leave it as maybe just the lines themselves. I want to make sure that I can create like some other type of an illusion, and that might come with just different lines or different shapes that I can add in over the top. So that would give you kind of a different view or a different example, but now this one looks like it's coming out at that corner or where we drew the vertical line. Okay, our last one we'll kind of walk through as far as like a way to start these optical illusions. This one's a little bit more specific. If you want to use something that's round in shape, so like a circle or an oval, or the curve of a heart, the curve of an eyeball. One of the things that you do have to think about with something that's curved is you won't be using really a straight line. What you're going to need to kind of think about instead is how do I make things look like they go around corners or edges. So how this would work, if you have a curved object, you want to actually put a vanishing point on the top and the bottom, and you want to put a vanishing point on either side. Okay, you're going to connect the top and bottom lines together by a line. You're going to connect the two side vanishing points together by a line. And then what you want to do is start at either the vertical or the horizontal side of your curve. And your goal is to go from one vanishing point and touch the other vanishing point. And every time you draw a line, you want to make sure you start and stop at those points, but you're also going to curve your line so it matches the curve of the actual shape that you're trying to create or that you're trying to design. So by curving these lines, what you're going to see is it starts to look like it's a rounded shape or a rounded form. I would do the same thing going the opposite direction. So every time I start at one point, I go to the other point, and I want to make sure I kind of continue to have these curve around. I'm going to do the same thing up above, start at one point, curve, go to the other point, and as I draw, I'm going to have some different ways that I can create that optical illusion, okay? So one of the things that you want to kind of think about, and you can see here with these 4 different examples, is that starting an optical illusion doesn't have to be overly complicated. The biggest thing is you have to think about, do you like the look of lines, 1 point, 2 point coming out, maybe using something that has a rounded form or nature to it. And then you can combine a lot of these different things together to create a really cool illusion. But they look hard. The easy thing is just narrowing down how to get them started. So by practicing this, kind of seeing how they work and how they start as far as like the overall concept, this is a great way to start to brainstorm your own idea.